Elusive and consistent running back to ever play the game until he shook the NFL world and his career was over far too soon. But how good was Barry Sanders actually?
Let's find out.
Born and raised in Wichita, Kansas, Sanders immediately learned the value of working hard and not taking anything for granted. He was the 7th of 11 children, so his parents had more than their fair share to provide for. As the family kept adding more mouths to feed, doing so became a team effort. Barry's father was a roofer and carpenter, while his mother was a registered nurse. Seeing how much his parents were doing for the family, Barry and his brothers were inspired to help chip in. As soon as they were old enough to participate, he and 2 of his brothers began to serve as roofers' assistants to their dad. From a very young age, 2 things were established in the Sanders family. You were going to grind for everything, and there was no complaining. Little did young Barry know that these life lessons would shape his development as an athlete. When he wasn't helping to provide for his family, Sanders was on the football field or the basketball court. And while Barry's first love was basketball, his father believed that he had a better chance of getting a college scholarship from football. So Barry shifted his focus to the gridiron. His dad saw something special in him and believed in Barry's ability to play in the NFL, but no one else shared that belief. Heading into Barry's senior year of high school, he wasn't even the starting running back. By that point, he should have had colleges sending him dozens of letters and begging him to come on recruiting trips. But as hard as it is to believe now, his high school coach thought Barry was too small and afraid to get hit.
Little does he know this guy will end up in the NFL being arguably one of the best athletes ever from what you guys are commenting on our videos. So that's why we're watching it.
Standing at 5'8", his physical appearance didn't scream future Division I
prospect.
That's short for
NFL
Sanders
players.
Didn't get his shot to prove everyone wrong until the 4th game of the season. The starting running back got suspended and Barry seized the moment. Not only did he make his coach look silly, but he made the defenders look so too, leaving them in the dust with a shiftiness that was almost unfair. He rushed for 274 yards and scored 4 touchdowns. This stellar debut instilled confidence in Barry and propelled him to finish the season strong. In his last 5 games that year, he rushed for over 1,000 yards and nearly set a city record for total yards that season, despite starting out as the backup. And not only did Sanders prove his coach wrong, but he was getting attention outside of just his father. He earned All-State honors and was named an honorable mention All-American. But even with these achievements and impressive stats, Barry once again found himself being counted out. Because of his lack of size, almost every major college program viewed him as too small to take a chance on with his...
This story reminds me of Lionel Messi. So Messi, you know, one of the best, well, arguably the greatest footballer or soccer player ever. He was counted out to be too small many, many times and, you know, missed out on a lot of opportunity because of his size, and a lot of professionals that he worked with at the time when he was younger were like, he won't make it, or he's not, you know, he's not good enough because he's not got the physical attributes that you're born with. He was even on growth pills to try like catch up with height and stuff. And then now look, he's literally number 1, arguably in history.
Well, that just shows size does not matter.
Yeah.
My gosh. I think it's quite sad that they judge your future based on your size.
Yeah, it's like your born attributes.
It shouldn't be a factor.
Yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to physical sports like this, like NBA, everyone has to, like, you basically need to be over 6 foot or you don't have a chance.
I understand because you need to be tall to dunk into the basket.
But you don't need to, because you could score without dunking. Dunking's a thing. But this is like just based on your attributes from birth, they're judged, all right, is this person going to be...
Are you going to be successful or not successful? You know what? You're too short. You're not going to be successful.
Scholarship. As a result, Sanders only received offers from 4 schools: Wichita State, Iowa State, Tulsa, and Oklahoma State. Barry decided that Oklahoma State was the place for him and committed to the Cowboys. Then, once Sanders got to Stillwater and was ready to begin his college career, it was more of the same old story. Oklahoma State already had a Heisman candidate in the backfield with Thurman Thomas, so Barry was going to have to sit and wait his turn. In his first 2 seasons, Sanders served as Thomas's backup and only rushed the ball a total of 179 times. But in those limited opportunities, Barry averaged over 5 yards per carry and scored 10 touchdowns his sophomore season. Even though he wasn't the starting running back, Sanders began to make a name for himself. He shined as a kickoff returner, leading the nation in yards per return at 31.6, and the same moves that finally got him noticed by colleges were now causing headaches for opposing special teams units. Barry was named a second-team All-American as a return specialist, so when Thurman Thomas left Oklahoma State for the NFL, it was time for Barry to show that he could impact more than the return game. With all eyes on Sanders, he went out and rushed for 2,628 yards and 37 touchdowns in 11 games.
To 11 games? Yo, I don't know NFL or college football to that level, but even I know that's absurd numbers. Because that just, from 11 games, he's done over 30 touchdowns. That's
crazy.
Ridiculous.
That's a lot.
Mad. What the hell is that? I didn't know that's even possible on that level of American football.
So in each game,
he's averaging 2 touchdowns every game. Yeah. Every single game, 2 touchdowns.
2 to 3.
2, I'd say. 2. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. 11 games. Yeah. Sorry. 3. 2 to 3. Yeah.
Good for him.
Absurd, that is. Barry averaged more than 200 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns per game over the course of an entire season. Those are video game numbers.
Yeah,
he set
it is.
college football season records for total rushing yards, all-purpose yards with 3,248, points scored with 234, and rushing touchdowns. And none of that includes the 222 yards and 5 touchdowns he scored while playing in only 3/4 of Oklahoma State's bowl game that year. And as a surprise to nobody, Sanders, the little running back standing at just 5 foot 8 inches, won the sport's most prestigious award in the Heisman Trophy.
Well done.
To this day, that season is widely viewed as one of the most dominant individual seasons in the history of college football. After a year like that one, there was nothing left for Barry to accomplish in the college game, so he declared for the 1989 NFL Draft. With his draft stock so high, Sanders was projected to be a top 5 pick, and the Lions were excited to take him with the 3rd overall pick. Along with using such an early pick for him, the first deal Barry signed with Detroit speaks volumes to how much they valued him. At the time, his 5-year, $9.5 million contract with a $2.1 million signing bonus was far from the norm for a rookie.
You know what? Normally I'm like, oh, that's just so much money, especially back then. But you know what? This guy deserved it. What he done, and with all odds against him, he was the substitute. He was the bench warmer for a while.
He wasn't even wanted because of his height.
No one wanted, they were. He was like, he was plan B.
You know what? He is a great motivation and a great figure to look up to.
100%.
A lot of teams don't want him because of his height. Like you said, he was a bench guy. You know, he'll be the second option. But now look at him, it's like, yeah, watch me shine.
Yeah. You know what it is with him, which I really rate, and it's hard to do. Like, although you might play a sport and you might be the bench warmer, like you might be the second or even third option, but at time that, even if it's 10 minutes that they finally play you,
impact.
If you make an impact to a whole different level and it happens constantly, you will eventually get recognized no matter how many odds are against you. There's only so much they can say no to. If you keep performing to your peak and outshining, even if it's for 5 minutes, you will earn your spot up eventually.
That's exactly what he did.
And that's what he did.
Yeah.
He grinded. Deserves it.
Life was good for Sanders. For the first time in his life, he wasn't being doubted. With the Lions having bet so much on him, Barry was their guy from the moment he arrived in Detroit. But Sanders immediately found himself in a spot he wasn't used to, a spot that brought a whole lot more pressure. Now expected to produce immediately, Barry didn't shy away from the moment. As a rookie, he rushed for 1,470 yards and 14 touchdowns, while adding in 282 receiving yards. Not only was that a franchise record for most rushing yards in a season by a rookie, but it also set a franchise record for the most rushing yards by any Lion ever.
Just to add to that as well, bear in mind the opposition team know who this guy is now and know his capabilities. He's not just that bench warmer that they don't give a crap about.
They're going to try to take him down.
They are focusing him now, and he is still able to do that. He could have easily crumbled under the pressure.
Along with those records, Sanders was only 11 yards away from leading the entire league in rushing that year. And as a result, he won NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, was selected to the Pro Bowl, and was named a first-team All-Pro. Following a picture-perfect start to his career, expectations were sky-high for Barry in year 2. And again, he lived up to them and led the league in rushing with 1,304 yards and 13 touchdowns, in addition to his 480 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. For a second straight year, he was selected to the Pro Bowl and named first-team All-Pro. While Sanders had personally gotten off to a nearly picture-perfect start to his NFL career, there was one thing missing: team success. He was stuck playing for a team that had missed the playoffs in 7 consecutive seasons. And because Barry was so great in his first 2 years, people now expected him to lift the franchise out of the gutter, with the weight of the city on his shoulders ahead of the 91.
Sorry to pause it again, but who do you remember? I don't know if you remember who had all that pressure for their country.
Messi.
And he was expected to lift them out the gutter. Yep. And that one penalty he missed, he got death threats, he got all the pressure. Literally very similar story, just in a different world.
Different world, different sport.
Yeah.
I think it's just so sad.
Yeah.
Because it's not just one person playing. There's a whole team playing. Why should only one person bear all that pressure?
Thing is, with him, he's lucky because he does have the option to move team. With Messi, he was stuck on his country. Yeah. You can't change country. You can't change your nationality. But I feel like my personal opinion, you guys may disagree, once you become that level and you have that expectation every season, you need to move to a team that has more capabilities to work at your level, more closer to your level, because there's only so much
you can do by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. He's carrying the team too much. There's only so much carrying until he crumbles, you know?
One season, Sanders rose to the occasion, rushing for 1,548 yards and scoring a league-high 16 touchdowns on the ground.
Wow.
And most importantly, he carried the Lions back to the postseason for the first time since 1983.
So he did it.
But Barry didn't stop there. In the divisional round against the Cowboys, he led Detroit to their first playoff win since 1962. Sanders had officially done the impossible and brought joy to the Motor City's football fans. Sanders followed up this storybook season by rushing for 1,352 yards and 9 touchdowns the following year. By this point, anybody familiar with the NFL was extremely aware of what Sanders was capable of doing to opposing defenses. He was so quick and agile that defenders looked hopeless trying to stay in front of him.
They can't keep up.
Down. It wasn't until his 5th season in 1993 when Barry would face his first real test of adversity. In a Week 13 game against the Bears, Sanders suffered a torn MCL that forced him to miss the final 5 games of the regular season. This marked the first serious injury in Barry's career, and people questioned whether he would be able to return to form after it. His calling card was elusiveness, so an injury like this could seriously detract from that ability. Because of this, Sanders, for the first time in years, found himself in a place far too familiar. He once again had doubters when he returned from the injury in time for the Lions' wildcard playoff game. But it was a situation he was comfortable being in because he had been there so many times before. The Lions lost the game, but Sanders shredded the Packers for 169 rushing yards and showed everyone he hadn't lost a step. The 94 season was an opportunity for Barry to further cement his return, and Sanders did so in emphatic fashion by leading the league in rushing with 1,883 yards while adding in 283 receiving yards. That was the 4th most rushing yards in a season in NFL history and the 7th most total yards from scrimmage. Barry hadn't lost a step. He was better than ever. John Teerlink, the Minnesota Vikings defensive line coach in '94, said that the only way to simulate Barry's unique abilities during their practices was to have the defensive linemen chase chickens around the field. That's how much trouble he was causing.
Reminds me of Rocky.
Rocky did that. You know what it is? I think his chickens are unpredictable with their movement. Even
so you have to be quick when they move as well, and that's why you have to be agile.
Rocky did that.
In opposing defenses. If that wasn't enough to let people know the injury was only a minor setback for an even bigger comeback, the following 2 seasons just added to the narrative. Sanders ran for over a combined 3,000 yards while scoring 22 rushing touchdowns and totaling 545 receiving yards. After becoming the first player ever to rush for more than 1,000 yards in 8 consecutive years, the Lions, ahead of the '97 season, recognized Barry's greatness through a new contract. Detroit signed him to a 6-year, $34.56 million deal that included an $11 million signing bonus.
Woo! So you sign this paper, you get
just chucking money
you
at
get
him,
11 mil.
So
you sign the paper, instantly get 11 mil, and then you get a 30 whatever mil on top, I believe. I think that's how signing bonuses work. So that's a bonus. It's just say thank you for signing with us.
Yep.
Damn.
The contract made him the highest paid player in the league. Making more than any other player meant that Sanders would be asked to take his game up another level, if that was even possible. So Barry went out and did something that only 2 running backs had ever previously done. He broke the 2,000 rushing yard mark. He finished with 2,053 rushing yards, 305 receiving yards, and 14 total touchdowns on his way to breaking the single-season record for most total yards from scrimmage and being named league MVP. Just like his junior season at Oklahoma State, this is still considered one of the greatest seasons ever by an NFL running back. If there was a stat for broken ankles in 1997, Barry would have set the all-time record. During the '98 campaign, Sanders followed it up by rushing for 1,491 yards, which left him just 9 yards short of rushing for at least 1,500 yards in 5 straight seasons. Nonetheless, Barry was clearly on top of his game, and people couldn't wait to see what he would do the following year. But in 1999, on the day before the Lions training camp was set to start, Sanders shocked the football world to its core. Despite being healthy and showing no signs of slowing down and terrorizing defenses, at the age of 30, Barry Sanders retired from football.
No way.
People were left speechless by the decision and couldn't understand it at all. But for Sanders, it wasn't about his health or playing ability. He said, "The reason I'm retiring is simple. My desire to exit the game is greater than my desire to remain in it." Even though he was on the verge of becoming the league's all-time leading rusher, his head simply wasn't in the game anymore.
You gotta respect it. Like, you know what? Obviously, I'm not in his shoes. I can't say this for certain, but from my observation, I feel like because he's carried for so long, it's exhausted him mentally, where, like you said, his desire to leave was higher to stay. I feel like if he had a team that was more balanced, where he didn't have to carry as hard every year and the expectation wasn't so high every year, he may have had a longer career.
I think the pressure got to him a lot as well, because as you mentioned, he had to carry the team. That alone is a lot of pressure. So, you know, there's a lot of pressure. He must be stressed out each game as well, exhausted mentally and physically.
As the paychecks got higher, the expectation gets higher.
Of course.
It doesn't come for free.
No.
So
they're paying a lot, so they're expecting a lot in return.
He became number one highest paid athlete in that league. So the expectation is you were paying us money to carry the hell out of our team. And don't get me wrong, it's great. He's loving it. But I'm guessing when he got to a point where he's made so much money, why does he have the desire to carry on carrying?
Yeah, he doesn't need to.
But I rate him. He's loyal to them. He's so loyal. Like loads of people that jump ship and just gone to a better team that can, where it's just less stress because everyone's a lot better.
Yeah.
Sanders finished his career with 15,269 rushing yards, which was only 1,457 yards shy of Walter Payton's league record at the time. At the pace Barry was at, he would have broken the record the following season. Forgetting the hypotheticals, what Sanders was able to accomplish in his 10 seasons was unheard of, and still is. To this day, he holds the record for the most rushing yards through his first 10 seasons, finishing with over 1,000 yards more than the next closest player. And what makes this even more impressive is that Barry did it with nearly 200 less rushing attempts than that player.
Wow.
Sanders also accumulated quite the list of honors in his decade of playing. He made the Pro Bowl and was named either first or second team All-Pro in each season. Barry led the league in rushing 4 different years and barely missed out on doing so a few other times. When describing his running style, Sanders said, "I had to be instinctive, creative. I knew I wasn't the biggest guy. I wasn't running anyone over, so I had to run around them." He
that
is,
chicken
without a
training.
doubt, the most elusive player to ever grace a football field and one of the greatest running backs of all time.
Barry Sanders, that's the first time we've come across him. What's your thoughts?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing, but I feel bad that he probably felt like he wanted to retire because he's just had enough. He definitely enjoyed the sport, but I think the pressure just got too much to him. And obviously he's getting older as well. His body must be getting tired.
There could be loads of factors, but he done extremely well. He made his money. He made his. I'm hoping the Lions got a bloody gold statue of this guy in their stadium.
He left his footprint mark there as well.
Historic for them. He's the first player to get them out of that relegation. Well, you know, that league they said they couldn't get out of. So he single-handedly got them out of that. Incredible player. So I can see why you guys kept commenting below to learn about Barry Sanders, and this is why.
Yeah.
Thanks for the recommendation, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. For now, peace out.
Bye.